And I'm fucking livid that we are stuck in the timeline where Alex Jones is right. As I said, democracy is a system that reinforces authoritarian ideals.
Why aren't the Amish afraid of COVID? Because they don't have TVs.
They were posting some crazy shit like months ago. Remember that?
You brought a freaking guillotine.
I did.
Being a victim of a tragedy doesn't make you an expert in public policy. Somebody telling them to stand up for their right is disinformation. Kind of works.
Oh no! Oh, okay, no.
You want to make the world a better place? Have some babies and raise them to not be stupid.
Man, governments are not going to like this shit.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, shitposters, activists, and people of the internet, thank you for joining tonight's episode of O'Donnell for Liberty. As always, I'm your host, Justin. Before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications to keep up to date with future shows. If you enjoy the show, you can be an early supporter of the program by following the Patreon link in the description and signing up to join our production team. If you want to keep in touch between shows, you can follow me on social media or join our community Discord channel by following the links in the description as well. Tonight, we're going to be talking about weaponizing white women and using the power of thirst for good. We're going to take questions, so make sure you hit the like button, leave some comments, and tell us what you think in the chat, and give a warm welcome to tonight's guest, Liberty Twitter's favorite thirst trap, Forest Mommy. How's it going?
Am I the favorite thirst trap? I mean, thanks. That's really nice.
You're at least the only one I've seen that's just full on embraced the power of thirst for a positive meaning. Like every other girl out there on Twitter that's trying to embrace thirst is just redirecting it to their OnlyFans. Well, you're at least trying to do something.
I have an in real life OnlyFans, so I don't need an OnlyFans. So I can just like let it fly, baby.
So, like, I mean, fill everyone in. Like, for those who don't follow you, or for those of you who've been living under a rock and haven't followed Forest Mommy on Twitter, I mean, what's your whole mentality with going at it? Because you just, like, you post the thirst and you bait people into using it for good.
Ever since I got on the internet, I was like, I'm going to post pictures of myself. I mean, since going back to 2007, I was just posting sexy pictures of myself. That's how old I am, first of all. Second of all, I'm just... And on the internet, people will like it. Half of it was people would always be like, "Shut up, you're ugly," and I'm like, "I'm not ugly." But not to be like shallow, but like I know what I'm saying. I'm a real person living this real life, and I'm not a fucking ugly. I got a good fucking body, and I'm gonna use it for good. So.
No, I think last week I saw you get in an argument with somebody, and finally you snapped. You're like, "Who the fuck are you?" And their answer was someone who doesn't have to post naked pictures of themselves on the internet for attention. And all you said was, "Well, maybe you should."
That was my Adam guy. He was on another podcast this morning, and I watched it because I was like, "Why did I block that guy?" And then I remembered. First he said that without knowing me at all. I don't think he'd ever followed me. He said that, and then all of a sudden I saw him liking a bunch of like my thoughtful posts, and then I was like, I'm gonna be petty. You don't get to say mean things about me and like my thoughts, so I blocked him. He was on Justin Campbell's podcast this morning. What was Adam something? He was involved in all that drama last 2 weeks ago or whatever. Which you were involved in all that drama. I hope I don't get canceled talking to you. You're problematic.
All I did was ask a question, and some crazy woman on Twitter got her panties in a twist and tried to cancel me. Like I didn't know what was going on. I just asked, "Hey, what's going on?" And people lost their fucking minds. But that seems to be what Twitter is all about, just like exacerbating everything. And you've built a following.
I like being crazy and not getting involved in personal shit.
Well, I mean, you've built like a huge following just posting pictures of yourself and your thoughtful posts and Liberty takes. How did you I think that's what I ask everyone. That's what I always find interesting to talk to people about is like, how did you come to Liberty Twitter of all places? How did you get wrapped up in the message of libertarianism?
So probably in like 2019, I was still on Facebook. I haven't been on Facebook since March 2020. I had a friend who actually connected me with all the like anarchists and libertarian people on Facebook. And I remember you guys were talking crap about Ashley Shade, and because that's like I remember I was friends with those people way back then. But then I got banned a bunch, so I was just like, fuck Facebook. And the shutdown started happening, and I just wanted off of Facebook. I got doxxed, and I was like, this is stupid. So I got on Facebook, and I'm like, well, I'm an internet person. I'm a millennial. I grew up with social media. Like, I was on it, you know? So I got on Twitter, which I actually liked Twitter. Then I started realizing, like, you get information quick. You get, like, I would notice that when I was still kind of on bowl, I would notice there was things I would find out on Twitter, and then like 3 weeks later, I would see it on Facebook. So I just feel like Twitter informed, and then I just started talking my shit because that's how my life's always been. I've always just talked my shit. I've luckily just like I went on my own young. I've never had anyone be the boss of me. I have a man now who takes care of me, but he's like, you do you. So like I've always been able to be free. And then I started talking all this stuff last year, and I noticed people, you know, the more and the more the society started like getting crazy about COVID, about like you can't say stuff against the narrative. I was like, don't tell me that, because I will go like 300% more against the narrative. And I did, and I would get all these messages thanking me for saying things, and so then I just go, and I just am really good at balancing like thirst and thought, and like, and I'm really nice. Like I don't know. Like I never was popular in high school, but like as an adult, people like me because I'm a nice fucking person and I like people. So, anyways, that's how I just hit 15,000 today. I'm gonna do my lip gloss like 5 times. It's just.
All right, so I mean, like you hit 15,000 followers, and like how many of a good portion are just following because you post pictures of yourself. A good portion are following for your politics. Aside from COVID and everything, and the nightmare that's been the past year and a half with government lockdowns and tyranny, would you describe yourself as an anarchist, as a minarchist, as just a normal old libertarian?
Definitely more anarchist. I as a human being, I know I could survive and do things without the government because I made it pretty far. I believe. And the people I know in my life and have known in my life, I know that we could have what's the word I'm looking for? Like we could have a community, and we would be, when you want to work together with people, what's the word I'm thinking of? Like
your commune, your community, everyone coming together.
When you like are going to be productive about with people. Like I've never been like, and I want everyone. This is why I think I'm right, because I believe that if there were people who want to be communists or whatever, they can start their own little communist state wherever they want to go. Obviously, communists never fucking stay in their borders and shit. But like in my mind, I'm like, anyone who wants to live any kind of way, you find your community, you find your tribe, which is how we kind of lived, and you be with those people. And like I feel like everyone can just like do it, you know, but I could totally do it without a government. I don't need a government. I take care of my community better than the government takes care of my community. So that's my
and that's really what it comes down to, is all the arguments that say we do need a government come down to taking care of people that the government's supposed to take care of. And as long as people will actually step up and do the things that everyone wants the government to do, it's real easy to show that you don't need a government.
And it's always the people who they always go, well, with the government, everyone falls between the cracks and shit. And it's because those people wouldn't step up. That's the thing. They can't imagine, or like anytime you get in an anarchy argument where they're like, oh, without laws, I'll kill people. And it's like, okay, you're the bad guy. Like if you you're the one who can't visualize cooperation. That's the word I was looking for before. I understand cooperation. And all my life, I've always just been a cooperative. I'm not going to make things harder than life is fucking hard. Like I've been through some hard shit when I first was like going off in the world, and like, yeah. So anyways, I just kind of go, I'm a little tipsy right now, but I'm having a great, thank you for having me.
I think tipsy you is the best you, at least. Well, I mean, the alternative was showing up in a nun costume. So
I thought about putting a costume on. It was like, then it was a little tipsy, and I was like, I'll put it. Next time, Justin, I'll put a costume on for you. I have all sorts of.
So, I mean, the one common trend, like the kind of the things that Liberty Twitter at least has been coalescing around as messaging in the past couple months has been white women must be stopped because of the pandemic of Karens that are trying to destroy everything. And then, like, all of a sudden, we're trying to see the table being turned with a couple of the white women like yourself and Liberty Twitter embracing the white women must be weaponized. And I mean,
I don't take it personally because I know I'm awesome. So.
Well, to me, that it goes back to something that Spike Cohen once said. And Spike Cohen said, once the message of liberty reaches soccer moms, no school board will stand a chance.
It's true. And have you seen that? It's like when these people are going after the school boards, I said this on another podcast too. I'm like, these parents. Oh, so I'm a degenerate trad. I don't have kids, but I'm talking all about the trad lifestyle. I'm better for the world if I don't have to work full time. That's so terrible, but it's true. It's true. Okay. So yeah, it's true. If the soccer moms and parents would start like going to the school boards, and they're going to the school board meetings saying like, fuck off. You guys are like fucking terrible. And what the fuck is wrong with you? So no, it's true. If the soccer moms, but the soccer moms also have a problem with keeping up with the Joneses, which that's the problem with all human beings in general. And people want that social acceptance so bad. I've been socially unaccepted enough in my life. I don't care. I'm hot. I don't care. So like, that is a very good statement, but I don't care about them saying about the white women thing too, because I know when they say stop the white women, it's about like the progressive, terrible white women, like Karen, like you said, which I portray so well in my video, which I think I got a lot of followers from that. Like first off, video.
So I mean, how do we get the message of liberty to the soccer moms and the average white women and the people who aren't already embracing anarchy and liberty ideas? Like, how do you get the message of liberty to them so they can't be weaponized?
We just have to like show them that the government is the bad guy. We just have to like get that red pill or whatever you want to call it, like that the media and the government are bad. They're terrible. And they're feeding you shit and they're making you a bad person. You're not living your truth. You're not living your life because you're following this government. So, oh God, that's a good question. How do we do that? I just say it because I'm like, I just do the fuck I want. But like, that's how we get it through to them. Like, I know a lot of like people who are like your typical soccer moms, but they're actually like swingers or whatever. And it's like, okay, if you can live a little differently in your life that way, then why not like expand that a little further and like kind of like, oh, I can do my life how I want. I don't need the government. I don't need the like news, you know? I don't know. These white women. I live right in like, I live in a suburb. I have a forest where that's where I grew up, but like I'm in the suburbs and it's just like, oh, these women. I don't know. They all need mommies to come teach their kids and stuff. So that's what I do.
Well, I mean, it's been really evident how you've been able to reach people on Twitter, and like I've seen a couple people in your comments and mentions who like end up with getting in arguments with libertarians that I know on Liberty Twitter, who like only ended up getting there because of your thirst posts, but then ended up getting bombarded with the message of liberty. How do we get the white women to follow the thirst?
Well, you can't force it, first of all. It has to come naturally. Otherwise, you know, it's forced. That's why I was laughing. I was thinking about you earlier because you have your problematic post last week. And I'm like, I like my scandals to be sexual or like, but I don't know how, like, it is because it comes so naturally to people like us where we're like, we want to do what we want. We're not going to force anyone else to do what they want or force anyone else. Like, it's just, half the times I talk and I forget that, like people don't know that you can't force things on people. And that's so natural to me to just like live and let people. I was talking to Sweet D's last night, and I'm like, she's like, well, I will tell you if I disagree with your lifestyle. And I'm like, that's good. We need people that you can talk to who will say, I disagree with your lifestyle. I disagree with this or that, but we're still friends. And you need to like be. That's the thing though, this nowadays with these white women is they like shut it down, which I've been guilty of in the past. Like I definitely like, oh, sorry, hold on. I definitely like, I'm guilty of that stuff. Oh shit. Are you still there?
I'm still here. You're still there too.
Yeah. I'm on my phone. This is my quality.
I mean, the problem with, you're right. You can't force things on people. People have to come to it naturally. But like, at what point is the force in self-defense? Like we've seen the past 2 years or the past year and a half where like everything's gone to hell in a handbasket over a flu, and to the point where they're building concentration camps for people in Australia.
and abusing children. I don't have kids, and I'm like, these kids are being aggressed upon. The kids who are going to, like, I live right by an elementary school. My neighbors, one of their daughter had a little sniffle one day, and they sent all 3 kids home, and it's like, I don't believe in I want public school to be just an option. I'm like, I would be a better teacher than half the public school teachers, and I have no formal education, okay? But, like, I don't know, man. Sorry, I lost my train of thought, but it's weird. It is weird how, like, I don't know. Damn it, parents and kids getting abused. The kids are getting abused right now. Like, to me, it feels, I was very sensitive. I was the youngest child, shocker. And, like, I was very sensitive to, like, because with millennials, they kind of started bringing up, if your parents are abusing you, it's bad, whatever. I was just very sensitive to that kind of stuff. I was raised being, not beat, but I got hit and stuff. And then now though, I'm like, this shit going on is weird. Like, why are they forcing masks on children? And I feel like I have to fight for that because kids can't fight for themselves, and all the moms are doing it because it's like clout. Like social media is a huge thing. Like, as much as I love social media as it came about, now I'm like, oh, fuck, what did we do? Like, what did we do with this shit?
Yeah. Well, as Southern points out in the chat, his kids just able to run around and play here in New Hampshire. I mean, so that's something a little bit different. Here in New Hampshire, we don't have mask mandates, and like kids at school don't have to wear their masks if they don't want to. And like, we've basically shut down the fear culture of COVID here. But then I pop online and I see my friends who don't live in New Hampshire, and it's just constant. Oh, I lost my job because I wouldn't get vaccinated. Oh, I was kicked off the train because I didn't have a mask and stuff like that. And it's really turning into a totalitarian, not just abusing kids, abusing people in general.
I'm on a board for an organization I volunteered with, and I'm on the board of directors, and I've given them money over the years. I'm not allowed to go to the board retreat because of the vaccine requirement. I'm not allowed to go to the board retreat. And the sad thing is they've needed younger people. I've always been, when I got a good life, I was like, I'm going to volunteer and give back and shit. So I did that on my own. And now I'm like, they can't find younger people to save their life. So I'm like, they're pushing me out. That's stupid. Like, it hurts. It sucks. And like my district I'm in, I don't think kids have to wear a mask. But I know they're sending them home with sniffles and shit. And I'm like, what happened? What happened? How we all grew up and now it's all wrong.
Well, I'm pretty sure I'm not even going to be able to go to my brother's wedding next year because he's getting married because he lives in New York.
Oh, New York?
Yeah. So he lives in New York City.
I've given up on wanting to go to because Colorado, this is the saddest part about Colorado. I used to love, I grew up here and I love Colorado. I've seen the growth and I've seen everyone move here. Being in real estate the last couple of years, it's been nuts. But I've been like, Colorado's great because everyone just you do what you want. There's enough space. Everyone leaves everyone alone. Well, that's not happening anymore. Now it's like people are getting so bossy and forceful. And I'm not allowed to go dancing at the gay club now because I'm not vaccinated. When I went to the gay club, they have a unisex bathrooms. Anyone's allowed to go in, whatever. Yep. Those bathrooms are nasty by the end of the night. Okay. People were not scared of what they were catching then. And then I'm not allowed. It's just so weird. I'm being discriminated against, and it's weird over something so stupid.
The gay community is to me one that blows my mind how willing the progressive and liberal gay community has been to accept mandates and lockdowns and discrimination based on medical status, especially given the terrible history of medical discrimination against gay people during the HIV epidemic.
It's fucking Fauci. Ugh. It doesn't make sense to me, but I think it's because over the last 10 years, they've done the identity politics and they're teaching, like I said, I'm a degenerate. I'm all about knowing your sexuality and stuff, but don't teach it in schools, or don't be weird about it in schools. And so all these people have been slowly brainwashed to follow based on their sexuality and to not think about the government's maybe trying to hurt them. I never went, people fall and get hurt at the dance club. I never was like, oh, are you taking PrEP? So you're for the HIV drugs? which Fauci makes money off of that shit too. So, yeah, I'm with you on that. It makes no sense, but then it makes sense when you look like the past 10 years, I feel like.
Right. I mean, it's an even deeper history for people of color and minorities in this country, where historically, like there is evidence. It's not even a conspiracy theory anymore. Like Alex Jones has been right about more than he's been wrong about, since stuff has ended up getting leaked from the CIA and NIH about times where the U.S. government used Black communities as unwilling and unknowing test subjects for medical experiments, like injecting an entire Black community with syphilis just to see what would happen. And they were able to inject them. Yeah, they were able to inject them with syphilis because they told them it was a flu vaccine.
I know. It's so just the fact our government legalized slavery at one point should make you take pause. You know, like how Anne Frank was illegal. Like that should make anyone take pause about what the government does and what it represents about moral and legal and all that. It's about
any government.
The state in general, any government. Like I don't trust none of them motherfuckers. Like, sorry, are we allowed to cuss on here?
Sure. You can't be as bad as Rothbardian is. So.
Well, she's Russian, you know. She's a little rough.
We joke that it's fine because anything she says won't get picked up by the algorithm anyways, because YouTube can't understand her accent. So we never get in trouble when she goes off the rails. But
as long as you don't say the B word, I think we're safe.
Well, she went with a hard R, or as much as her accent could produce.
Those crazy Russians.
But like, even with any kind of dissent against the state nowadays, you see people who are famous celebrities losing, like getting not just targeted, but like full-blown like attacks against them from corporate media and state press, where like Nicki Minaj is just the most recent example. But with watching Nicki Minaj.
I didn't have any cell service. I was on vacation when all that was going down. Damn it. No, but that's the thing they do with them, though. And then they have an attack for them ready. You know, they have shit on everybody. So they have an attack ready. They have these, and people are just so stupid and tribal. Like, I don't get humanity anymore. But yeah, I'm glad she said shit, because.
Well, you had like, she shared a post on Twitter that was just a clip of Tucker Carlson defending her. And
he's a white supremacist. Why are you sharing? I didn't see that.
And like she ends up going after Hassan, like, oh, I'm not allowed to fucking talk to white people now. Go fuck yourself. Like, and it was an amazing thing to watch Nicki Minaj go from blue-pilled celebrity preaching what she's told to preach to, in the course of 8 hours on Twitter, getting red-pilled in real time and then getting canceled and suspended from Twitter for like.
Did she get suspended?
Yeah, she got like a 12-hour suspension for defending herself against the corporate press.
I got my 7-day ban for V Talk, so I'm sure that's why she got a ban is for V Talk too. And you know who else is? Kanye kind of went that route, I feel like. Yep. But I feel like some of these people they tried to get to them and like use them. And Kanye, it fucked him up. And luckily he's like going down the good path now, I think. So poor Nicki Minaj.
Kanye's always been crazy.
Yeah, and in like the good way.
Yeah, Kanye's always been crazy, but then that comes up with the attack they put on Nicki. Like, Nicki was the darling of hip hop and the darling of like the music community. And like, I don't listen to that music, but like everyone loved her. And then all of a sudden it's, oh, she's always been crazy.
I remember seeing her in like 2009. I used to get this. My ex-boyfriend did mixed music, and I remember seeing it in a magazine. It was when she was first coming out, like before she got big and stuff. And she was just a nice girl, so they're stupid. Like, but they'll control the narrative on those people anyway. You know, like it's just a narrative controlling thing. That's how we get the white women too. Is we have to get ahead of the narrative somehow. That's so happy.
Right. Well, you got to preach to them. Southern comments, Nicki Minaj, super based.
Anyone who's willing to say, the sad part is she didn't even say anything against it, really, from what I read. She was just like, I'm just waiting.
She said, do your research. She said everyone should have a choice and everyone should be able to do their research. And like even this weekend, like crazy stuff has come out. I don't know if you noticed, if you saw the news on Friday, but the FDA has a vaccine advisory council that is
5-hour meeting thing.
Yeah, because the FDA is not made up of doctors and scientists. The FDA is made up of bureaucrats to check papers and make sure everything goes through. But the Vaccine Advisory Council is a bunch of doctors and scientists who work for the FDA, and they review applications for vaccines and tell the FDA whether or not it should be approved. They were reviewing the approval for Pfizer's booster shots, and their recommendation came back with absolutely not. There is no reason anyone under the age of 65 or anyone in good health should get a booster shot. There's no evidence to actually suggest it's going to be helpful. And they said in the report, I think the quote was, there is no scientific or medical evidence that contradicts the claims of vaccine skeptics with regards to this virus and this vaccine. Therefore, we cannot recommend increased mandatory exposure to it, and the FDA approved it today anyways.
The boosters?
Yep.
See, they're just gonna do what the fuck they want anyways. Like they're just gonna do what they want. So fuck them. Yeah, I heard that meeting, like a lot of doctors and stuff were testifying and they were like, this is stupid, this is dumb. Like, how did we go from 15 days to slow the spread to you need 3 fucking shots to feed your family? Like, how?
Well, it's every 6 months. It's not 3 shots to feed your family. It's getting in line every 6 months to make sure you're up to date.
They have driven me to drink this year. I'm gonna tell you that.
That's what did it?
Yeah, I was a good girl. I was a very good girl before this year. And this year I'm like, you know what, fuck it. I'm 37. I'm getting old. I'm gonna start drinking. I get it now.
Well, I mean, amazingly enough, when we did have the first lockdowns and they shut down all non-essential businesses, it was the liquor stores that stayed open.
Yeah,
and
the pot stores out here.
But like here in New Hampshire, it was a big like, oh, everyone got all weary about it because the state has a monopoly on vice in New Hampshire. And so we don't have private liquor stores. You can't go just to a liquor store down the street. The only liquor stores in the state are owned and run by the state. And the state wasn't willing to shut down that revenue source during the lockdown. And I think it was something like their sales doubled over the course of a year. Like, it turns out when you just lock everybody up at home and give them a paycheck, they have nothing else to do but drink.
Yeah, and they want to feel something. We're all human. You know, we want to, like, and scary. When the shutdown first happened, I was terrified, not of the disease. I was terrified of the tyranny and the authoritarian. I lost 20 pounds just from like, and I don't have 20 pounds to lose. Like, I lost 20 pounds just from like being scared of what the government was going to do next. And like, and we all knew it wasn't just the 15 days. Like, look where we are now. We all knew it wasn't just this. Like, I knew they were going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. Like, how are we here? Like, I have friends who are like bragging about their kids getting vaccinated, and I'm like, I just don't get it. Like,
or my favorite was like, I think I said when it first started, everyone's like 15 days to flatten the curve. I'm like, you mean 15 days to set a precedent?
Exactly. And they did, and no one ever looks back at that and says, oh, you know, yeah, you're right, we did say just 15 days. Now we're 18, 2 years later. Like, they don't even say that. Like, but that's the whole, like, yeah. And the child, someone just posted the childhood obesity.
Yeah. Yeah. Spud,
adult obesity and childhood obesity.
Yeah. Spud Ruckus in chat says childhood obesity has absolutely skyrocketed. They're going to pay for this for generations. And I think that's selling it a little short. I don't think childhood obesity and even just general obesity skyrocketing from this is going to be the major issue. It's definitely an issue. To me, I look around and I see kids not being socialized, kids not knowing how to interact or mingle with other kids their own age, kids losing the ability to learn because, well, you might be a better teacher than most public school teachers. Not everybody is. And a lot of kids' parents aren't picking up the slack to make sure their kids are learning what they need to learn to keep up with kids their own age. And then that's
what I say. It's parents' responsibility in the end.
Yeah.
Really.
And then you keep going down that rabbit hole, and it's the mental health issues. Like, isolation's not good for people. People are social animals. Like, you're supposed to interact with other people. You're supposed to talk to other people. And Aureus, yes, exactly. Depression and anxiety, I think, are going to be issues that we're going to be like, we think millennials have issues with depression and anxiety. Wait till today's kids grow up.
Yeah, I have a niece in college. She's in her sophomore year of college. She's a kick-ass soccer player, and she has to get tested twice a week because she won't get vaccinated. And I'm like, what are we teaching them? Like, like, they are going to be depressed, and they won't know any better too. They'll be like, well, this is what the government does. Like, we all slowly were, taught to believe. Like, yeah, I'm here for the next generation. I'm sticking around, guys. I'm not going to off myself. I'm here for like the next couple generations because I am the cool auntie. I am like the fun auntie, like you go do with your and I just feel like I can help kids too, but I just feel bad for them. And because they've been in the public schools, like being indoctrinated in a weird way. Like I wish you could teach kids like everyone's trying to indoctrinate you. Just listen. Don't take it on, don't take it all the way into heart. Like, but when we grew up, I don't know how old you are. How old are you?
I just turned 32 yesterday.
So I'm your senior. But when we grew up, teachers taught you, like, if someone's talking about your no-no spot or touches your no-no spot, that's wrong. And you tell an adult. And now they're like, let's talk about your fucking genders now and your genitals and stuff. And it's like, it's such a weird thing now. I don't know how kids are. It's weird. I don't get it. That's like, now I'm like, I don't wish I had kids, and my eggs are still for sale if anyone's interested.
Unvaccinated eggs. I mean, I hear there's going to be a market for unvaccinated sperm. I haven't actually looked into that.
A lot of drugs in my life, but not prescription drugs.
All the posts about unvaccinated sperm demand just seems like something like, I don't know. It seems like something Alex Jones would start yelling about, but given Alex Jones's track record of being proven right a decade later, it terrifies me. So,
it's true.
But like, all right. So we've seen these lockdowns. We've seen this like terrible tyranny, how it's been affecting health and mental health in like our children and adults in this country, and no one's doing a goddamn thing about it. And I think that's the most terrifying thing to me is how willing everyone has been to just roll over and accept it.
Because of social media, man. Like, can you imagine if Hitler had Facebook? If Hitler had Facebook, he would have won. He would have won. There are 2 documentaries out there saying where Facebook is admitting, hey, we're controlling your guys' next move, thoughts, everything you want. And no one cares. No one cares. Everyone's like, well, I'm still gonna do it, like.
I watched one documentary on Netflix about Facebook, and they were interviewing a whole bunch of former employees of Facebook and Instagram and Twitter who'd come forward and saying, like, here's the shady shit that Facebook is doing. Here's the shady shit that Instagram is doing. And they had one woman they were interviewing. She was like a former director of community engagement. She helped pioneer like developing Facebook groups and how they worked. And she said she started developing political groups as an experiment to see if they could target people and do groups that would be based on their politics. And she freaked out. And like on the interview, she said, I will never let my children use Facebook because I'm pretty sure I accidentally created the alt-right.
Oh, the alt-right. Only the alt-right.
Well, she walks through the process of how like a Facebook group that she created to target people on the far right and give them and build community. And like she built it, and it went from like 5 people that she had the algorithm just add to 100,000 people inside 6 weeks. And it was just nonstop conspiracy theories.
That was that The Social Dilemma?
I think so. The one that was like a movie and a documentary.
There's another one that's just about Cambridge Analytica, which is like the first one who got busted. Facebook selling data to, and they were like, worldwide, they were running, which now the government pays for all these algorithms and things now, but like Cambridge Analytica got like half of a country to not even show up to vote. Not that democracy works anyways, but they like got like they were doing all these things to make things happen, and it's freaky. It's freaky when you think about it. Like, it's not good. And it's only gotten worse now that the government's like, oh, well, we'll pay these companies or Facebook directly, basically, to run these out to brainwash people. Ugh. Like, I was even on some people I knew on Liberty Facebook and anarchist Facebook are like, they're crazy now. They've gone complete full. And I'm like, it's because they were reading everything. I even noticed on Facebook, right before I got off Facebook, I remember like seeing, who's this Jordan Peterson guy? Everyone's talking shit about him. And then I read about him and I'm like, oh, he's not that bad. Like, what the fuck are you guys always saying he's a terrible person for? Like, you don't have to agree with everything he says, but he's not like this terrible, awful person that I kept reading about. So Facebook does that. They make you believe certain things about people.
Well, I mean, Australians have Facebook. What makes them different?
Well, people are going along with it, right? With the shutdown. There are people who are pro shutdown down there, right?
Well, there's people that are pro shutdown there. There's people that are pro shutdown here. There's people that are anti shutdown there and people that are anti shutdown here. The difference is the people who are anti shutdown and lockdown in Australia seem to be willing to put themselves in harm's way to do something about it.
Yeah,
and
those protests are real, right? Because I'm like, I don't believe anything I see anymore half the time. So those protests are real, right?
Did you see the video yesterday of the guy in the stampede who took out 4 cops in 7 seconds?
I didn't see that one.
So there's a video of like there was the worldwide protest or something in New South Wales, and there was a police line barricading, and there was a couple thousand people protesting, and they just started running at the cops and barreled through the line of cops. And there's a video of a guy who he Superman punches the first cop, rolls over, tackles another cop, gets up, turns around, double leg takedown, and spears the third cop into the ground, and then just stands up and puts the fourth cop in a chokehold, throws him to the ground. All in a matter of 7 seconds, while thousands of people are just running over the cops and like beating the cops. The cops were in full retreat at the protest. And like, it blows my mind. Like, imagine if Australians had American guns or Americans had Australian will to actually fight against the government. How much would things be different?
Yeah, it is. And I've even felt guilty myself not getting out enough and doing things, and like why, how do we make that happen? The like will with our guns. And well, don't you know,
to me,
go ahead.
It's always been like, I want to go out and do these things. I want to join the protests. I want to make sure that our voices are heard and that the government knows that they should fear the people. But like, if I'm going to go out and do it, if it's just me, I'm not going to have an impact. So how do I know that thousands of other people will show up and help? And I think that's something we can use social media for. And why isn't people using social media to organize these things and make them actually happen? Because if you're going to protest, if you're going to demonstrate, bringing the fight to the state is the most effective way to do it. Picking a fight and screaming at a 16-year-old making minimum wage at the grocery store because they asked you to put a mask on is not the way to do it.
That's not. No, yeah, that is one good thing. Like, even on Twitter, I've built a huge Colorado Liberty group. Shout out to all my peeps. Like, there is good to it. Obviously, we're talking. So, but when the shutdowns first happened, they made it so like, it was the whole Trump derangement syndrome shit. Like, well, if you're protesting the lockdowns, you're a Trump supporter. But I've been called a right-wing Trump supporter this last year because I want to go dancing, because I've been called all these things, and like, yeah, I don't.
Well, here's the thing: is like it was a complete and utter flip after the election, because before the election, the lockdowns were supported by Trumpers. They were supported by like the hardcore Republicans, not the Liberty Republicans or like moderate conservatives, but like the Trumpers would just do anything Trump said. And Trump supported the lockdowns at the beginning. And Trump was the one who started Operation Warp Speed to develop the funding to develop the vaccines. And Trump was the one who pushed the vaccines. And it was all the Democrats, and it was the Democrat celebrities that are now pushing the go get vaxxed and pushing for mandates, saying, I'm never going to get a Trump vaccine. That's going to be terrible, and it's going to be dangerous because it wouldn't be clinically tested or approved by the FDA. And then it turns around, Biden gets elected, and on the spot, everyone changes their tune, starts pushing for mandates and preaching that the accelerated process was all thanks to Biden and Harris.
They're all fake ass bitches. That's what they are, right? But Trump is who put the emergency order on. Trump could have canceled that order, the emergency, state of emergency or whatever. He could have canceled that shit before he left. He could have fired Fauci. So yeah, fuck him. Fuck everybody who was in on that shit, because I'm not a fucking Trumper. Like, honest to God, I will make a confession. In 2016, I voted for Hillary, but only because
Ooh.
I hated Trump. Well, I didn't hate him, but I was like, he's stupid. And my partner would vote Trump, and I voted Hillary just to cancel our votes out. That's the only reason why. So, anyways, that's a big confession to make. I'm gonna get canceled now, that's for sure.
Liberty Twitter might never forgive you.
It did like it mattered. But I was just thinking strategically that like I just want to cancel it out because whatever. But.
I mean, it comes down to what state you live in. In 2016, during the election, I lived in Massachusetts, and I knew there was no way in hell there was any possible result other than Hillary Clinton winning Massachusetts. That just doesn't happen, and so it didn't matter to me. So I voted for Gary Johnson to at least send a message. But like here in New Hampshire, there's been times where I had to think about it. Since I moved to New Hampshire, it's a little bit different. Now I live in a swing state. Things matter. Donald Trump lost New Hampshire in 2016 by less than 1,000 votes. Like, your individual vote does matter in swing states like New Hampshire. And I remember in 2016 when I got into the vote, I'm like, all right, I'm voting for Joe Jorgensen and myself and Daryl Perry. And I'm going to be perfectly honest. When I got into the voting booth, I sat there, I voted for myself, and I'm like, fuck, am I really going to do this? And I did end up voting for Joe Jorgensen, but I did not vote for Daryl Perry.
I voted for Joe Jorgensen this year too. I wasn't going to vote at all, and I'm like, well, might as well. I don't believe it. I don't believe like in the state, smaller states, I get it, but like everything's so corrupt and unbelievable now. Like, I don't know. But
yeah,
good for you for voting for yourself. That's like good self-confidence.
Well, and that one, it really did. Like, if the Republican and the Democrat that I was running against, I couldn't even tell the difference. And I hate when people say there's no difference between Republicans and Democrats, because there's a lot of differences between Republicans and Democrats. There's not meaningful differences. They both really fucking suck. But the two I was running against at the time, I couldn't tell a difference. They were both preaching the exact same thing, except one wanted a wall. And in hindsight, one was campaigning on build Trump's wall, and the other one was campaigning on not build Trump's wall, but then she voted for the funding for Biden to finish it. So there's really no difference when you break it down. But
New Hampshire's a lot rural, right? It's pretty rural, most of it.
I think for how small New Hampshire is, it's such an incredibly diverse state. Like, I live in the biggest city in the state, in Manchester, and it's not that big. I grew up in the Boston metro area, and so Manchester is nowhere what I would normally consider a big city, but it's bigger than any town I'd ever lived in before moving to New Hampshire. But we have really like decent congestion in the southern New Hampshire. I think 80% of the state population lives on the border. Because so many people do commute to Boston and Massachusetts for work every day. But then you start getting into northern New Hampshire, and it's like incredibly rural. You start seeing cows just on the side of the road. It's great. And you get up north, like where we have Pork Fest every year, and you're driving 20 minutes between houses and beautiful mountain views. But if you go an hour the other way from Manchester, you're in the beach and on the ocean.
Right.
So
diverse. So diverse.
Yeah. The diversity that matters, the ability for me to get to the mountains or the ocean in under an hour.
And isn't your guys' like highest mountain like 5,000 feet or something like that?
I don't know the exact number, but it's Mount Washington. It's also the coldest place in North America, I think. So on the peak of Mount.
My cousin lived in New Hampshire for a little bit. And he's like, it's only 5,000 feet above sea level.
Yeah, the peak of Mount Washington, they have snow in like July, and they have a weather station up there that records the coldest temperatures in North America on a regular basis.
That's crazy.
So how are we going to get you out to New Hampshire? Maybe come to Pork Fest next year.
I do want to try and come to Pork Fest next year for sure. If shit doesn't hit the fan, I want to do all the one in Texas, Childerberg. I want to do Pork Fest, Freedom Fest, and South Dakota, or where Freedom Fest moves, probably, right?
Well, Freedom Fest, this is the first time it ever did move, and that's just because Vegas wouldn't let them have it.
Okay. I'll go. I want to try to go that. But I do want to go to Pork Fest. And I want to go. My friend, he's on Twitter, Spirit Llama, David Gravy. He worked for y'all last year, doing doors in New Hampshire. He was telling me a lot about it. I know. Brave soul, but
yeah, I've been incredibly critical of Young Americans for Liberty and their door knocking campaigns in the past because, like, hey, not all politicians are the same, and I like to think that the party labels are just labels, and if you actually look at the candidates, you can find ones that are worth supporting on any side of the aisle. I got yelled at. A bunch of libertarians and Republican free staters got pissed at me 3 years ago when I endorsed a Democrat. When I was running for Congress and I endorsed a Democrat in a down ticket race, she was running for Register of Probate. They're like, why would you endorse a Bernie Democrat? I'm like, well, her campaign platform is to abolish the office. Like,
yeah, that's what we want.
Like, I think that's a pretty goddamn worthwhile thing to go. But like Young Americans for Liberty, while there are a lot of great candidates, a lot of great pro-liberty candidates that they do support, here in New Hampshire, it's so cheap for them to do it because we have multi-slate candidates, like 11 candidates in one district that'll get elected, and we have 400 state reps that they just take a scattergun approach and say, okay, these 50 Republicans, and they'll get like 30 great ones and 20 like awful ones, but because they're in the same district, they still campaign for awful MAGA Republicans because they're on the same ballot as the Libertarian candidates.
Yeah.
So I've been critical of them. They get very offended at me. Cliff Maloney had me blocked before his scandal. So
I understand. That's how I made a post the other day because I'm like, I get how like the like political side of things may be a waste, but I'll still put energy towards it. Like I got involved out here just cause, but obviously I'm going to be preaching anarchy and like voluntarism, like, yeah.
So I mean, so back to the weaponizing white women. What do you want to see white women do? Like you don't have kids, so you don't go to school board meetings. Why not?
No. It could.
It's still your tax money that pays for the school.
I need to get more involved in my city council because they're fucking idiots. So that's where I need to go. But yeah, like the biggest thing is the keeping up with the Joneses shit. Like obviously I look like I want to be hot and I look like I keep the Jones, but like for what your beliefs and what you think, you don't have to. Like you can be an individual person, and who cares if someone doesn't like you? Like I was a ugly dork growing up. No one fucking liked me. And now look, I'm fine. Like people have to get that through their head that like those white women have to like not worry about that shit. And I know we need to like talk. That was what the whole episode was about. But, like I don't know how to do it. It's hard.
I look like the kind of guy with a plan.
Yeah. We need to get it figured out tonight.
No, I mean, so one of the big complaints that people have about the Liberty Movement, and when people do come to the Liberty Movement, is the disparity of people. Because unlike other political movements, the Liberty Movement really has formed a community around itself, where people use the Liberty Movement and the Libertarian Party as their social club, as well as their political movement. Where it's like, I once asked at a convention that they invited me to speak at, like, how many people's best friend is in the room? And everyone raised their hand because like everyone's best friends and all their close personal relationships were people they met through the Liberty Movement. People don't go out and mingle with their neighbors. They don't go to their local comic shop.
It's like church. It's community.
Right. But like one of the things that like I think scares a lot of people off and that you hear as a recurring complaint year after year after year is the lack of women involved. Like women are 51% of the population. You'd think they'd be 51% of any given demographic, but you walk into a libertarian meeting or a liberty meetup and they're 5% of the population, not 51%. So like, how do we reach out to the everyday white woman to get them involved? Like, what is it that appeases to them or what makes you different than them that it appeals to you?
I've just always had a weird life. My life's weird. They always weird. But yeah, I don't know. We do need to work on that. people just have to be likable. First of all, you have to be likable to some extent. And if you're not likable, accept that people don't like you, right?
Right.
But why? How do we get more women to like? I don't know. Angela McArdle's out there doing a good job. these white bitches, man. I don't know.
Because we can't weaponize them if we can't get them to join in the first place.
Well, and I feel like there's obviously talking about the patriarchy, but there's obviously a lot of women who are just going to do whatever. If they're dependent, they're just whatever their man says or whatever. I don't know. I don't know how to do it. But I think being really accepting of everybody, even if you don't agree with their lifestyle or you don't agree with them, like there's someone on Twitter who's always subtweeting me and I know it and I don't care, you know? So like, what are you going to do? Like, you just have to not care about that shit. Like, you just have to be who you want to be. Maybe a lot of these women just they've grown up in this world where you have to fit into these roles. And being in a role is fine, but you also have to be an individual. And I don't know, maybe they just don't understand that they can just, liberty is the answer. Not even necessarily libertarian, but like liberty-mindedness is the answer. It's how everyone can be an individual. Like individuality is the most important fucking thing. So how do we convince people of that? I don't know. Maybe they don't feel like individuals. I'm doing my best. I'm out here I'm just gonna be doing me. And I don't like, and I think women like me. I love women. I think women like me too because I'm not like a bitch. So like, I'm just gonna keep trying to bring people in that I know. When I signed up for the Mises Caucus in Colorado, there was a ton of women in it already. So I'm like, oh, that's good. Like it's happening. I think people we're so asleep with politics anyways for the last 20 years. Like everyone was just asleep anyways. Now we just have to wake them up. I don't know.
So I will say the Mises Caucus is doing a better job than the Libertarian Party has historically. I shared a picture of our local county convention. We had a county affiliate forum for the Libertarian Party here this past weekend, and it was almost entirely Mises Caucus members that showed up. And we took a big group picture and we shared it at the end, and I put it up on Twitter, and somebody's like, "Are you sure this is a Libertarian Party event? There's like 10 women there."
It's true. I get it. But that's why I think a lot of people hate the Mises or whatever. And I'm like, I understand because I hate tribalism. I hate being a part of a club that would have me a member. But this group of people, if we're going to put some energy into the political aspect of it, this group doesn't give a fuck what you really believe as long as you believe in getting rid of the bullshit that's going on. Like, you can be trans, you can be gay, you can do whatever the fuck you want, but we have a big, huge fucking issue we need to focus on right now. And so maybe that's helping to bring more women in too, where we're like, yeah, whatever. Like, if you hate the fucking state, cool. Like, that's all that matters. You know, live the life how you're gonna live it. So in chat,
Spud Ruckus says you need to find the bitches and butter up to them and pressure them. Women are higher on agreeableness and collectivist by nature. Find the Ann Coulters. I don't know if she's calling you Ann Coulter here.
I don't like that. I don't like the aggressive, angry stuff because there's some of the libertarian girls. I don't like that. I'm too like, I get it, but you do need women who will stand up for what they believe and not kowtow to social pressure, which happens obviously. So, but you don't have to go as far as Ann Coulter. Come on.
Ann's not all that bad. Sometimes it's entertaining as hell to just see her pissed off.
She was for entertainment. It was entertainment, but she got into it. So can't blame her. And Tommy what?
Yeah, entertainment is just a reflection of culture. People do what entertains them. Like your pinned video on Twitter is you just making a joke, and at the complete and utter expense of your neighbors and Karen making a hilarious joke.
Someone posted a comment. I still get random comments on it. Someone's like, libertarians don't know satire. And I'm like, well, it kind of isn't satire because it's literally like really what's going on. So,
right. Like satire is making stuff up, sir. This isn't satire. The world is crumbling around you. And
I think that was May 2020. That was May 2020. And I was going to take it down and I'm like, nope, we're doing this shit again. I can just leave it up because the world is so fucking stupid right now. Like,
keep it as long as it's relevant.
Yeah. Damn it.
Actually, no, that's terrifying because it might never not be relevant again.
No, that's the hard, like, That's a scary shit. That's what I felt last year. Like I just felt this doom, and it wasn't gonna like, ugh. And it's not that I'm a doomer or whatever, but I'm like, the people in control are pretty fucking bad, and they are in fucking control, and they're gonna make like at this point, I'm like, they're gonna release whatever for anybody who's not unvaccinated just to kill us off, which is fine. Like now, fucking do it. I don't care. Like. And people still will be like, "Oh, the government's amazing," even if they know. I don't know. It's just so hard right now. I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna keep doing me, and then they can deal with it. So.
Well, I don't think your city council is ready for you, if that's any consolation. I don't think they're ready to handle you.
My city council said so. The city I lived in, they recently voted to have, which in some areas, I guess it makes sense in municipalities, but they were like, we all have a free market for garbage pickup. And they were like, well, we're gonna vote for everybody to have to use one company as a garbage company, which of course they're getting kickbacks for. And this one guy was like, we had to vote. We couldn't put it to a vote for the people because it was so complicated. And I'm like, how complicated is garbage pickup? You got paid to want to do that. It's like, I would love to get on it. But I'm actually planning on moving soon, so I'm like the county I'm going to move to is a little bit more libertarian, but I have plans for down there for sure. But that's where I'm like, I'm not allowed to go to the board meetings anymore, so whatever.
All right. So at what point do you think we just have to burn it all down? Like, how far are we from just having to burn it all down?
I mean, I feel with people losing their jobs right now over this, we're kind of there. Like we're at a point where like they are purposely making it strife and like complicated, and they're going to try and make a whole nother underclass of people, and they're like, I don't know, I feel like we're pretty much there. Like I'm ready to burn it down. I'm going to like out the organization I work for and make fun of them and stuff. So like I feel like we're there. Like I feel like we have to like, I know protesting's so like nothing sometimes, but I feel like we really do have to like T and F people. Like it's just gonna like we're there. I don't know. I feel like we're there because I feel the most unfree I've ever felt in my life. And I was on my own at 18. So
Spud says we were there 6 months ago.
Yeah, like we were there. Like we're all just so it sucks because America's the last fucking place that's free. So it's like, I don't know. I'm ready to burn it down, but I want to have some friends. So
The Libertarian Party of New Hampshire had a tweet last week that really pissed everyone off, and it sent like the prags and the like social like liberals all up in arms, where they said it's weird to see that in 2021, after the Taliban has taken control of Afghanistan, your average Afghan citizen is more free than your average Australian.
That's fucked up. That's fucked
like,
up.
Remember, they're building literal concentration camps in Australia for the unvaccinated. So,
yeah, and forcing people here to lose their job. They're making it so people who want to work can't work. Like, how does that make any fucking sense? I don't get it. Yeah, so I'm ready whenever. I'm just a girl. I'm just one girl.
All right. Well, it's been great having you on. This has been a fun conversation. Definitely want to have you back in the future. Tell everyone where they can follow you online. Where you're still at.
Just Forest Mommy on Twitter. I do have a Forest Mommy YouTube, which I will eventually do more with. And it's just Forest Mommy, so you can probably figure it out. Other than that, once I hit 20K, I will out myself. And then that's that. So then I'll get a blue check mark too.
All right. Well, it has been an absolute pleasure having you here tonight. It's been a great conversation. And until next time, be free. Hey,
Be free,
everybody. Thanks
bitches.
for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed the show. If you want to catch more, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications for future episodes. You can follow me directly on Twitter at O'Donnell, the number 4NH, to keep up to date with what I'm working on. And if you want to be among the first to support this channel, check out our Patreon link in the description. And as always, don't forget to head on over to sneckswag.com to get your freshest Liberty swag today. Until next time, be free, everybody.